Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Xing, Financial Market Strategist Consultant to Exness, and this is your market outlook for the 7th of March 2025. So for today, we will take a look at gold on the different time frames. So it will be a technical analysis on gold. We are currently on the Exness web terminal. Right, so starting from the higher time frames first, if we're on the weekly time frame, we can see that gold has been in an uptrend. We're seeing higher lows and higher highs that were being formed despite the price retreat, right? So last week price actually did slightly retrace, right? And then this week it's currently trading within the previous week's range. So we're also holding above the EMA 21 as well as EMA 78, right? So gold on the weekly time frame has been pushing higher, right? It's interesting to note that price is also sitting on this weekly fair value gap. You can see that, right? So the fair value gap, it's basically this gap that forms when the first candle, right? So 3 consecutive candles, and the first candle and the third candle did not overlap. You can see that price actually retraced, tapped into this zone, and we're seeing a slight rebound above this weekly fair value gap. If we move to the daily time frame, right, on the daily, it's interesting to note that we are seeing price, right, so it broke below the previous low, right, following that retracement here, and currently prices are testing this zone, right? You can see this high. This was also an area that price swept previously. So if you take a look at this move, you can see that price swept above this high, and then it dipped slightly, pushed to the upside, so it created this zone as a potential resistance. So this area here, which prices are currently testing, right? So there are 2 levels, right, or rather 2 zones that we have. The first one is this low, which is at about the 2830, this region, and then this high. So let me just remove this weekly fair value gap, and then this high at about this region here, which prices are currently testing to 920 area. So these are the 2 zones that we have currently, right, as support and resistance. Right, beyond that, if these levels are broken, we can see that the next level would be this high over here. It was also a resistance level that price failed. We saw a break above it, retraced to test it before price pushes higher, right? So this, it's about the 2800 level, this zone. Again, it's more of a zone rather than a specific level, right? So this zone over here. Okay, and then the high, the second resistance would be the record high, which is at this level at about the 2950 level. So this zone, you can see that we saw price tested it twice on the daily time frame. If I were to zoom in slightly, you can see that price actually pushed up and tested the daily time frame here right before we see a move to the downside. Now if we go on to the 4 hours time frame, currently what we have here, you can see that this area, so price did a retreat to the downside. We're seeing a sweep below this low over here, right, and this consolidation. So this is at about the 2890 level or 2900 zone, right, this region here. So if you take a look at what we have on the left, you can see that this region also coincides with a previous bearish fair value gap. We can see the hesitation to the downside before price broke up, and currently it's consolidating below this region. It's also holding above both EMAs, right? But if this area break, I think that we could see potential for a steeper decline. The next support level would be at this region. You can see that this was also an area that price interacted with. It was the previous resistance before price failed, right? So when we see this whole move to the downside, we're observing lower lows and lower highs, and then pushing into this zone, we can see that price broke to the upside, retested the support before it continues higher. So I think that at the 2920 level break, we could see potential for a steeper decline towards the 2850 level, which is, 60 level, this zone here. Okay, so this area that we've identified earlier. So that's gold on the 4 hours time frame. So it's currently trading within this range, right? So I think that price could test or consolidate within this range. And today we also have NFP data coming up, right? So if the numbers are better than expected, we could see a boost in the dollar, and that could weigh on gold prices. So just from a technical perspective, these are the key levels for me. If price continues to consolidate within the range, right, we could see sweep of the highs or the lows as what we have saw earlier. But if it breaks above the 2,920 level, we could see potential for a further climb, right? Towards this high, you can see that this was a high here that was formed in the previous day, this high. And if it breaks below the 2,900 level, we could see potential for a further decline towards the 2,860 level, right? So these are the key levels. If price continues to the downside, the next support would be at this low, right? And this is also a swing low, so you can see that the 2,830 level, if price breaks beyond this, right, then this could be potential for a deeper decline or steeper decline, right, because this will also be considered a break in market structure if price breaks below and closes below this. So yeah, so that's on gold, right? The next one that I would like to look at would be on dollar index. So let's take a look at where dollar index is right now. So on dollar index, so when we take a look at dollar index on the daily time frame first, you can see that on the daily time frame, this is the previous range. We have a high and low here. We also have this low at about 103.30 level. Let me just erase all that. So this is on the daily time frame. We also have a resistance level that price failed previously and also aligned with this bearish fair value gap on the daily. So these are the key levels at about 105.60. Again, I want to emphasize that it's a zone rather than a specific level, right? So this is where we are right now. We have this low that's being formed on the daily. If we move down to the 4 hours time frame, you can see on the 4 hours prices are still in this bearish market structure. It's still forming lower lows and lower highs into this zone, right? So there isn't much here, right, apart from this low that was seen on the daily. We also have the 4 hours. You can see that on the 4 hours we also have a bearish fair value gap here. So again, it's formed with 3 consecutive candles, and this candle identified the wicks here did not overlap with the third candle, right? So this is a potential resistance, right? So depending on how price react off this level, if price pushes into this zone and we're seeing a reversal below this, right, then it could prompt that further drop towards the swing low, right, or the low that was observed on the daily. So these are the 2 resistance levels for me, right? In terms of the support level, this is the first support level. And if you move back to the daily time frame, right, so if you move back to the daily time frame, you can see that this is the swing low, and in fact, if we were to just bring it even further to the left here, right, you can see that it also interacted with this previous high before a break to the upside. And if beyond that, if price continues its decline, right, the next potential level we could take a look at would be here. You can see that it was also a previous resistance at about 102, so more of a zone than a specific level. It was also the last swing high price broke before that moved to the upside, right, and then subsequently we saw that shift in structure again and price continued lower. So these are the key levels for me on dollar index, right? So again, this is the range, and if price breaks to the upside and if closes above this bearish fair value gap, right, we could see potential for a further move towards the 105.60 resistance. If price breaks below the 103.30, we could see potential for a further decline towards 102 level, so this zone here. Right, so that's it for today's market analysis. Thank you for joining me. I'm Xing, financial market strategist consultant to Exness.